Welcome back to MilSpouse in the house. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026. I'm your host, Christie Nix, 22-year active duty Army wife. My husband recently retired about a year ago, and we settled in the Fort Stewart, Georgia area, where I'm currently the head coach and personal trainer at our local Anytime Fitness. Today's episode is one I'm incredibly excited about because it centers on a group whose voices deserve more attention: military teens. And yes, by the way, I've got a couple of them in my house. My son is almost 13. My middle is 17 and my oldest is 19. So this is a subject very near and dear to my heart. Military teens grow up navigating deployments, constant moves, new schools, and changing communities, often without much choice in the matter. Today, we're talking about how their experiences are finally being measured, evaluated, and acted on in more ways than me just saying my oldest had been to 5 elementary schools by the time she was in the 5th grade, maybe 4 in the 4th. I can't remember exactly, but every year of her young adult life, a young adolescent life, a new school. That's a lot to take on. So joining me today to help us talk about all of these things are Raleigh Smith Duttweiler, Chief Innovation Officer at the National Military Family Association, and Kait, Senior Head of Communications for Bloom, a program created by military teens for military teens, and now a program with NMFA. And oh, by the way, Kait is also a senior in high school. Today we're going to talk about why Bloom was founded, how it became part of NMFA, what data from the Military Teen Experience Survey tells us, and why teens should take that survey right now. But first, before we jump in, let's take a quick look at a few updates impacting military families, brought to you by MilSpouses.com, built by military spouses for military spouses, including one that's very important for the military teens we're focusing on today. Scholarship season for military kids is now, with deadlines on the horizon through March and big awards up for grabs. Don't miss out. Tips, timelines, an extensive list of opportunities just for military kids, all in one place. Find those at MilSpouses.com. And we all know PCSing often comes with a lot of frustration. Lost boxes, damaged items, confusion about claims. The Pentagon recently announced a new personal property activity which aims to overhaul the system. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth assured improved reliability and accountability for every military move. You can find details on these important topics and so much more at MilSpouses.com. And while we focus so much on taking care of our families, it's important we take care of ourselves too. Talkspace makes mental health support more accessible, whether you're a spouse, parent, or caregiver juggling it all. We'll be right back. Being a military spouse comes with its challenges, but you don't have to navigate them alone. Welcome to MilSpouse in the House, your go-to podcast for real talk, support, and community. And thanks to our sponsor, Talkspace, getting the mental health support you need is easier than ever. Talkspace is a secure, HIPAA-compliant therapy platform where you can connect with licensed therapists anytime, from anywhere. Now in the TRICARE network for all TRICARE recipients, for children 13 and up, retirees, veterans, and active duty spouses, because mental wellness is for the whole family. Visit Talkspace.com/MilSpouse today and take the first step towards support that fits your lifestyle. Okay, everybody, welcome back. I am here with Raleigh Smith Duttweiler from NMFA and Kait from Bloom. And today we're focusing on what happens when military teens are not just supported, but truly listened to. Raleigh, let's start with you. Can you share your role at NMFA and how your work connects to military teens and families?
Sure. So I am the Chief Impact Officer at the National Military Family Association, NMFA, and I grew up in a military family and I married a Marine. I have 3 military kids of my own, which inevitably means one of them will serve. I have one who is definitely joining the Peace Corps and then one who is going to be a professional dancer. And if Army has her way, the YouTube recruiting ads have already begun on my 9-year-old. So at NMFA, we have been serving and supporting military families for 57 years. We were founded in 1969, which was the height of the Vietnam War. And this is where like the math we have to do in this room as women in 1969, we could not take more than $5,000 out of our bank account without a male in our family signing off on it. That means that when our family is in crisis, we were not empowered to go provide for our family in the ways that we needed to while also supporting our military service member. For the 5 women who started NMFA, they started at a kitchen table and really were determined to do better by their widowed friends. They put on their gloves, they went to Congress, they knocked door to door until the survivor benefit plan was born. And that's really like that sort of radical approach to making sure we care for each other and being in community is at the heart of all NMFA does. So we do advocacy on the Hill, we do programs to support military kids and their families, and we do research, which is where we are sort of focusing our work right now. But in the course of that, one of the things we do is Operation Purple Camp for military kids. It's awesome. I love camp. I have elementary school and middle school aged kids, so camp is like right where we are. But this thing happens at camp where most of our programs end when the kids are 16. And at 16, we lose those kids. They don't stop being military kids. They don't stop needing the support they needed the summer they were 15. They've just sort of aged out of our program. And we started to notice at the beginning of the pandemic that not only were they aging out of our programs, they were aging out of pretty much everybody's programs. And that we had this demographic of kids that we had at kitchen tables at home on Zoom school in 2020 that we knew we needed a better support and we didn't know how.
That's amazing. And you're not wrong. I had one of those Zoom kids, her first year of high school, and guess where daddy was? Not home. He was in Europe. He was stuck in Europe. So I navigated single mom life, a kid doing homeschool, all 3 kids, at home all the time. And there was not options for me, so that's amazing. I love hearing that. And so, Kait, tell us about yourself and your military background, where you lived and how you got involved with Bloom.
Yes, of course. So I am an Air Force brat, meaning my dad, he recently retired from the Air Force, but through his service, we got to live in a lot of cool places, as you all know. So I was born in Misawa, Japan. We moved to Virginia, to Korea, back to Virginia, to the United Kingdom, and then back to Virginia, where we're here now. So I got involved with Bloom specifically between my move from the United Kingdom back to the States. It was during COVID, and as you know, it was really hard to get connected with your community because you couldn't really go outside and just form that connection face to face. Bloom was a really great resource for me in 2021 when I was moving across the ocean and I couldn't really connect with people at my new school that were military kids or who moved or who knew what I had been through. Bloom was sort of this online space that I could connect with the military teen community and connect with a lot of people who knew what I had been through.
That's really cool. So was it a virtual space?
Yeah, so Bloom started out as a virtual space with blogs and artwork and expanded into making TikToks and cool Instagram posts. Through our content creation by military teens for military teens, we can really create this space that targets specifically what the military teen experience is.
That's really cool. And then anyone can learn from it, right? You don't have to be a teen to actually learn what that experience feels like. That's beautiful. So you've lived in some pretty cool places. Do you have a favorite place that you've been stationed?
I would say my favorite place that I've been stationed definitely has to be the United Kingdom. It was a really big culture shock going to live over there. And especially moving over to the UK. It was 2018 and I was really obsessed with Harry Potter.
Of course. Well, great place to go for that. That's amazing. I love that. So tell us a little bit about what you're up to now.
So right now I'm a senior in high school at a high school that specializes in fine and performing arts. So I'm there for the creative writing program and currently I'm done applying to colleges, but I am waiting for results.
Oh, I can't wait to hear where you go. If you could go to your dream school, which would it be?
Probably right now, I'm looking at the University of Virginia.
So you'll stay pretty close to that East Coast.
Yeah, pretty close to home.
Fingers crossed. I have a feeling it's probably going to work out for you.
Thank you.
So, Raleigh, let's talk about Bloom's origins. Bloom started as a teen-led effort before becoming the program partnered with NMFA. Walk us through how Bloom was founded and what it meant for NMFA to bring it under its umbrella.
We find community in creation. When we are co-creating together, we're able to overcome isolation. We're able to do all of this magical stuff that like distance can divide us, but we're able to stay connected. And I think that in 2020, that's something that everybody understood. But Matthew and Elena, who are co-founders at Bloom, understood that better than almost anybody else. And with a core group of early bloomers, they took this sort of concept of taking their stories and using them to find the Kaits of the world, to bring them in, to make sure that other people understood that this experience that can feel so isolating, that can feel like it's happening to you and not everybody else, is something that you can instead connect with other people and find community. We were able to connect with Bloom basically at its first birthday. In spring of 2021, we highlighted Bloom, which was literally a year old. They were founded in April of 2020. So we highlighted them for Month of the Military Child on social and did sort of a week-long social takeover where we sort of are highlighting military kids of all ages throughout the month. And the last week went to the Bloom kids because they were doing such incredible work. And at the same time, we had just partnered with them. They were incredible. So like anybody, any adult in the space is looking at these rock star kids and we're like, what can we do to get involved? But we had already been thinking about how to launch sort of a research initiative focused on military teens at the same time. So it was this first time we're having these conversations. But the thing that happens with teens is that they age and they do amazing things like Kait, who's about to go to college and who is not actually allowed to leave Bloom because I need her to stay here forever. But the problem is that they do. They age up and they go to figure out what's next for them and go build their futures. And what we really wanted to do was find a way to bring Bloom in so that it benefited from the longevity and infrastructure of NMFA as a nonprofit, but then multiple generations of leadership could come through. It's not without its growing pains, and we are trying hard, and the Bloom kids are trying hard too. And that's where I really think the magic is. We spend a lot of time, Kait, I don't know how much you know this. We spend a lot of time trying to keep adults out of your space and make sure that it's not being dominated by all of the adults who have a billion questions and donor dollars and want to know what Bloom says and can Bloom write and can Bloom do. And we stand there. It's really our very valiant programs director who stands there and says, this is their space, this is their work, and I've got to protect it for them. So it's what we have tried to do is kind of let them be sort of this easement inside of the greater infrastructure so that we can protect it and make sure that it stays at that heart of like by teens, for teens, but in a way that's sustainable. I want it, my oldest is 12. I want this to be a thing that he connects to next year on his own, find like on his own way there, because he needs it too. So that's sort of, they came to us in 2022 officially, but as a program, I mean, I think it's really taken, I would say, Kait, and I don't know, this is like hot take, but I really feel like by last year, we'd kind of worked through a lot of the kinks, and this is our first year trying to really get going in this sort of new phase of what Bloom can be going forward.
What made it so important to preserve Bloom as a teen-led, even as it became the larger part of the organization?
Well, so we have a lot of other teen programs. I mean, we engage with teens in a bunch of other ways throughout NMFA, and that's true, I think, throughout the greater military community space. But this is the only place where they are getting together and telling us what their experience is, and we can choose to listen. So to me, the value of what Bloom is, the value of what Kait and all of her peers are producing is that it's theirs. We are not sitting here editing and saying, I don't know that a program from NMFA should be saying this about military life. We are stepping back and saying, y'all, like editorial freedom is yours. Please tell the world what you needed to hear. And that's where we as the adults in the room just have to kind of step back and listen.
That's really cool. So Kait, from your perspective, what does it mean that Bloom is led by the military teens and not just designed for them?
So as Raleigh was talking about, we came to NMFA in 2022, but it's really taken a little while until last year to fully explore what it means to be a program of NMFA. So this is a question that we've been exploring internally. But the way that we found that we could preserve our slogan by military teens for military teens in the best way possible was to have a completely military teen-based internal structure. So everyone that creates the content at Bloom, that markets things at Bloom, that designs the websites at Bloom, they are all military teens age 13 to 18. And I believe that having an internal structure completely made by military teens ensures that every piece of content that we put out there accurately reflects the military teen experience.
What a cool opportunity for a teen that has that creative mind, right? But also the unique lifestyle of a military kid to co-partner in such a cool organization to just reach other military kids. I absolutely love that you're leveraging all of the things our teens are currently into as well. I'm sure you said TikTok. I think you said y'all are making TikToks and you're finding them where they're at. That's absolutely beautiful. So one of the most powerful partnerships between NMFA and Bloom is the Military Teen Experience Survey. Raleigh, you didn't just survey teens, you co-authored this work together. So talk to us about the first year of the survey and why co-creating it really mattered.
Okay, this was, I think, the bravest thing that a bunch of teens and researchers have done in this space, because we basically threw the academic rules out the window and met with a bunch of teens and said, what should we be talking about now? I'm going to couch that with an asterisk. We are in the middle of our 6th Military Teen Experience survey. I hear from really incredible military spouses who, if you're listening to this and I have not yet responded to your email, I swear I'm writing a thoughtful response. But I hear from military spouses who are moms of teens and work in the social working space or in mental health almost every day about this survey. And they are so concerned. Like, are we asking questions that their kids aren't ready to answer? Like, tell me if you identify as a male, female, or if you identify as non-binary. Are we asking questions that the federal government one day might come try to take data for? I don't hold on to the data for so many reasons, to include the fact that nobody should be able to get these answers from anybody. But there's a lot of concern about what we ask our kids. And that's exactly why we wanted to put them really at the forefront of that conversation when it came to the creation, right? Because as adults and as moms, as researchers, as as a lame 44-year-old, I have a lot of questions about some of the things. But we started with the kids and asked them what they wanted to tell us that we didn't know. And that's sort of what built the framework. We then met with academics from Auburn, from Georgia, from Purdue. We have like these stated academic research institutions who are our partners. We met with leaders from DOD. We met with leaders from VA, working through all of the components. Like, is this being asked in a way that's like appropriate from a behavioral health standpoint for kids? Are we phrasing this the right way? The amount of labor that went into, hey guys, what should we ask, to like the first iteration of the survey blew, I think, all of our minds. We really did not know what we were getting into. We are a small nonprofit. It's a lot of like startup mentality on the workload. But I remember when we got in our first draft together that first year, we had a Zoom meeting with 20 some odd teens. And Kait, I don't know if you were in the room that day. I don't know if you were there, but we had a Zoom meeting where we went through the survey in its draft form, page by page and question by question, with the bloomers to go through, what do you think? Is this an acceptable version of this question? Are we asking the right thing the right way? Or we've gotten too many adults in the room from like the science, research, behavioral health standpoint that we've kind of lost the nut. And that's where the first survey started. We have done a couple of tweaks since then. We try to use validated instruments to get a little bit deeper on some of the mental health stuff, just as a result of like the things that we have learned are concerning and we want to ask more questions. But we've tried to stay really consistent to the heart of like, this is what we built together. And these are the things we want to know. And we want to see how that changes over time. I think that we had the opportunity through all of our programs to ask the questions that we thought were important to ask 13, 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. And we weren't asking the right ones. The things that we have learned in the course of this survey have blown our minds and that of so many. I mean, we knew being a teen was hard. I don't think any of us were aware how much harder it was for our military teens, even those of us who grew up in military families. It blew me away. One of the things that we have really struggled with in the last few years, and that we've done extra sort of scientific instruments around this year, is the self-harm rate for military teens, which is more than twice that for their civilian peers. And that's the kind of thing that, like, I walk a 12-year-old in a middle school and say to his guidance counselor, hey, I want you to read this field guide to the military teen. I want you to read our research because you have 17 other kids just like mine. And this is something that they experience at higher levels. They're going to present as the most awesome put together kids. And they are so awesome, but they need a different level of support from you, the adults in the room. So that's sort of how that started and how we're carrying it forward.
So is this how many years of the survey have you done?
This is our 6th iteration of the survey.
What have the results shown year after year? I know you said we're not asking the right questions.
I mean, that's because we have these kids and they're amazing. Christy, I'm sure your kids are phenomenal, right? And I look at all of their friends and I'm like, you're amazing. Kait, you guys, that's what we take away is we know how hard this life is, and the way that you are able to push through, the way that you are able to demonstrate the resilience you have built, it knocks all of our socks off. However, resilience is not automatic. And there's a lot of work that our kids are doing behind the scenes to build that resilience that we are seeing play out in ways that is a different experience than their civilian peers are facing. One of those is around well-being. So we use it's called the Warwick-Edinburgh Mental Wellbeing Scale. And it's this population-based scale that I'm going to get my hands up on. If we have this scale, 75% of respondents who are teens, it's age adjusted, should be in about the middle. So 75% should have moderate well-being. Leaves us 25%. We're going to split that to the 12.5 on the low end, 12.5 on the high end. Consistently, year after year, we see that closing in on 40% of our military teens experience low mental well-being. That's not 12.5. We're 38, 39, 41. They sit here at around 40%. A bulk of our kids are in the middle, but not nearly enough are in that high category. It's always less than 10%. So we see kids who are doing exceptionally well. We need to see more kids who are doing exceptionally well. So we see that then, when we're able to dig into the data, there are some experiences that military kids have that make all of that more likely. Low well-being is tied to food insecurity, and military kids experience food insecurity at greater rates than their civilian peers. Military teens actually report year after year that almost half of them, or even slightly more than half, depending on the year, experience food insecurity at home. We're seeing it more in our teens than we're seeing in our average population. And I thought, this doesn't make sense. I can't tell you how many times we almost threw out the data and went back to the drawing board to figure out why this happens. And then I was on the phone with the head of rec, teen rec for LA County. And she said to me that this is actually the same data they see there, because what happens in fixed income families, like those of us in military life who know exactly what we're going to make this month, what they see is that when we build our budget for the year, we don't factor in our kids' growing stomachs into that budget. So we're going to build our food budget knowing that as long as you're at this rank and we're in this place, this is the amount of money we have coming in. We don't have any flexibility inside of that budget. The financial, fat isn't there. So we're going to plan for you to have 1 chicken breast at dinner. 3 months in, you're already having 2 or 2.5. So the feeling that your kid has about their experience is not going to be the same as a budget that's a little bit more flexy, because you can go eat at grandma's down the street, or your aunt 2 doors down can take you, and all the things that happen when you live surrounded by family in non-military life. Food insecurity correlates to lower mental well-being, as does being a hidden helper. So having a wounded, ill, or injured parent, veteran, or service member living in your home makes it harder for you to have a moderate or high well-being. My kids have a dad who is a wounded, ill, or injured service member, and they have also seen those struggles. It's not surprising. What was surprising is that year after year, we see that more than 70% of our teens say that that's them, that that's their household. It's not the smaller number that we all kind of think it's going to be, but it's actually the bulk of our families. So those are those experiences that are just unique to military life, or uniquely exacerbated by military life, that we see playing out in the well-being for our kids. The part that gets troubling is where we see the well-being move in from feeling to action, right? From state of being to state of action. And that's where our self-harm numbers, we really didn't start asking about self-harm until about 2 years ago. And what we have now seen consistently is that military kids self-harm at more than twice the rate of their civilian peers. I mean, that's not going to work for me at Christie. I don't know. That's not going to work. We're going to have to figure out a way around that. So this year we're doing a lot more investigation into sort of the surrounding reasons for that. What else is going on so that we can try to do something about it? There's a lot of research in our space that exists to have a big splashy release party with lots of donors and really awesome takeaways. That's great. I love all of those. I cite those surveys all the time. That's not what this is. We really take this survey to do 2 things. 1, to get data that informs our programming and the programming of our peers, to say this is what teens are experiencing and we want you to do something about it, and to build policies that can keep the exacerbations of these problems from happening in the first place. It's really meant to be an action tool. And so that's for us, like, it's so, so important that kids are able to raise their voice. Like, to all the moms who come to me with their concerns, I need your kid to be heard because I desperately need to shape our programs and our policies to meet their needs. Not what we think their needs are, but what they tell us their needs are.
Yeah. Wow, that's a lot. It sounds like that's such an evolving process that will continue to grow, but the voices of the teens are guiding it, which is the most important. And it sounds like that's really making it much more effective. So I love listening to that. So I feel like this is where Bloom is really going to shine, because I know there are other programs that are trying to get this information, but because this is a teen spearheaded approach, it's shining in a new way. So Kait, can you talk to us about how Bloom creates that connection for military teens and why that has mattered so much?
I think that everything that Raleigh has touched upon with the data from the Military Teen Experience Report has really underscored why Bloom is important and why it's specifically so important in creating connection for military teens. I remember that the first time I saw the report in 2021, when I first joined the organization, I had looked at the findings of the survey. The first thing I thought to myself is, what are we doing about this? Because the numbers are really concerning. And it's concerning to me that Bloom is one of the only organizations addressing military teens and their mental health from the standpoint of supporting military teens. So the way that Bloom really creates this connection, like, for military teens, is we're easily accessible. We're online, as I said before. We create relatable content through blogs, artwork, TikToks, podcasts. We started out as mainly a blog and artwork website. The blogs touch a lot about advice for military teens, which I think is specifically very important in relation to the results that we see from the survey. When we see people talking about low mental well-being, or talking about food insecurity, or talking about housing insecurity, a lot of the things that our blog addresses, I mean, people from the blogs can't exactly tell you how to find a house, but it can relate to military teens on the level that the people writing the blogs know exactly what other military teens are feeling. And I think that is so important. Just being a military teen and being able to go onto your phone, go online, and see exactly what you've been feeling and relate to something that you see online. I think that telling stories from the military teen perspective in a way that military teens can relate to is really one of the most important and most effective strategies that we can take to creating connection for military teens and hopefully reducing this epidemic of low mental health.
Yeah, I mean, even as a military spouse, right? Like, part of our connection is derived from relating with other military spouses. I mean, it's just, we know that they get it. And one of my biggest things I've always said is, you have to be a military spouse to understand this lifestyle, right? Like, I can tell you about it all day long, but unless you live it, you have to live it to know it. And the same is true for our teens. And the hard part about a teen is they go from being your kid, little, to a teen with different feelings and emotions. And as a parent, you don't really know when that page turns. It just turns, and they're closed off, and they feel like maybe they can't tell you all of the things. And so finding those people that they know are going to understand because they live it, and that they feel like a safe space to talk to, is such a cool thing. Kait, I'm so grateful that you've been able to be such a part of that and help drive this program, because I would imagine your insight has been instrumental. So let's make sure listeners know how to get involved. The Military Teen Experience survey is open right now. Who can take it? How long does it take for them to take it? And why should teens participate this year?
Okay, go to militaryfamily.org. It is on the front page of our website, and it will be there come hell or high water until February 15th, when we are closing the survey. I desperately, desperately need every teen and every mom of a teen. Tell your teens to take the survey. Here's who can take it. Are you a military connected teen? We mean you. And that means that, like, for the kids who are going to say, I'm a veteran teen, like, I don't know. Actually, you do. You count. Let me, look at your data. Please do not count yourself out. Count yourself in. One of those massive problems we have in our community that we talk about on the veteran side all the time, but we don't talk about a lot on the family side, is that sense of identity and that loss of identity and the loss of connection that comes with it. You count. If you are military connected, you count. We mean you. And we'll ask you all about your experience, the whole thing start to finish. If you are thoughtful and plotting, very slow, will take you 23 minutes. You can run through it in 12 if you are like my 12-year-olds who took it and was like, bah, 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 bah. So it can be done quickly. And I do know that that is a chunk of time. We are giving away, like we have $100 raffles. I mean, we have I will try to incentivize you to do it, but let the incentive be this. Policymakers have no idea what you're thinking. They don't. Policymakers have no idea what our teens are struggling with, what they are doing, what they need. They are not going to know unless teens tell them. And this is an opportunity, unfiltered, unbiased opportunity for you to be able to say, this is what I need. It doesn't have to go through command. It doesn't have to go through a parent. It doesn't have to get approved. You can tell me whatever it is you need to tell me, and I will listen. And we have a whole team of researchers who are listening to, who care so, so much about us being able to get an honest read on what is happening with our teens so that we can support you before you get there, give you everything you need to thrive while you're there, and celebrate you as you go do amazing things after that teen experience is over. I mean, that's at the end of the day, and poor Kait knows this, we are a bunch of moms and we are really just trying to do right by our families. That is what we are trying to do. And I don't mind taking all of these papers to Congress and DOD and say, you might say this, but this is what these kids are saying again and again and again. And I need to know what you plan to do about it. And that's what we do.
Yeah. And is it an anonymous survey? I would imagine it's anonymous.
It is. So we ask kids to, here's the catch. We ask you to give us an email address. This is for two purposes. One, if someplace in this comment, if someplace you say something that has such alarming mental health, if I have a kid saying, I'm going to take negative action today, I am not going to let you do it without reaching out. We've never done that. But one, we're going to reach out if that happens. But two, most kids use their school email address. So it's a way for us to kind of triangulate. We try hard to make sure these are real teens and that we don't just have a bot answering questions on their behalf or somebody pretending to be a military teen, although I don't know why anybody would do that. I mean, what's the incentive? But we will not save your data with your email address. It will all be disaggregated. It will not stay for anybody to come for later. I promise you, your data and your secrets are safe with us, but we will absolutely act on them to try to make life better.
And that's the beautiful thing about data. In the fitness industry, I use a lot of data with my clients to drive the direction in which I approach their program and their goals and how we're going to achieve those things. And while these are teens, children, if they're on the early teen or almost grown adults, the data doesn't lie, right? If you get enough data, you have enough information to sway the scales. And so I know that's why that data is so important for you guys to get. So I really hope this podcast help empower parents or anyone in a military community to get the survey into the hands of our kids, because that's where we're getting the information to make the changes that are going to impact their better life.
That's right. We appreciate it. Please tell your kids school, tell your kids coach.
We live off base. And so I know we had programs within our elementary and middle school, maybe even the high school, directed for military kids, but my kids almost didn't love participating because it singled them out and it just made them different than their peers. While they are different because this lifestyle is different, at school, that's not how they want to show up, right? They just want to blend in. So this is another way that they can say things without it drawing attention to the fact that they're a military kid. So that's really cool. So you're also leaving our listeners with another really valuable resource, the Field Guide to the Military Teen. I know you mentioned that earlier. It's also authored by Bloom Teens. Why should families and teens read it, and how can they get it?
Okay. I want families and teens to sit down and read it together, read it at bedtime, read it at the kitchen table. But mostly, I want you to go give it to every single person in your community. I want everybody at school to have it. I want the guy at checkout at the grocery store to have a copy. I want the assistant coach of the team you were on for 6 months to have a copy, because the single most important thing that we can do for our kids is make sure that they have a trusted adult outside of the family for them to talk to. And that means if that's going to be a predictive factor in their good mental well-being, that we need to make sure they know what the real experience of military teens are. One of the things that happens, I live in Cleveland, Ohio. I don't think that my neighbors know that my kids are military kids. I genuinely don't think they really have any idea. I send them to school and there are 17 others just like my kid in a school of several hundred. It's not a lot. It's people who think they understand the experience. And Kait, I can tell you every time you guys write something, I'm like, I did not understand that part. And I'm over here living the experience. And having been in your shoes before, it still surprises me. The Field Guide to the Military Teens is everything that anybody in communities with military teens needs to know about military teens directly from the mouths of military teens. And I don't know who could better inform us about their experience than military teens themselves. And it's for you, it's for me, but it's also for everybody else that's working with them that doesn't have that same community connection that we do. That's where it's like, I want you to read it, but I actually want you to print out 5 copies and go give them to people that you're just not sure totally get your kid's experience or the experience of a neighbor kid down the street. Your pastor needs one, your rabbi needs one, the Cub Scout coach needs one. Kait, who else needs one? Like, it's everybody.
Definitely school counselors, school liaisons, just anyone that comes across your path, just start handing them out.
And so is that on the website?
It's on the website.
Okay.
And I joke that in April, what I ought to do is print out like 1,000 copies and just start handing them to everybody I see. But in reality, that is what we need.
Yeah. That's really cool. And I love that you call it a field guide. I think the Army, it's their FM, 570 field manual, but I would imagine for other branches, it might not be that exactly. So I love the field guide tip to the military community in the title. That's really cool. So Kait, what do you hope teens feel when they read something written by people who truly get the experience?
As I said before, one of the best ways that we can tackle this epidemic of low mental health is by creating a space where military teens can really feel connected to this community that they may not have a lot of in person. Like Raleigh said, I don't know how many military kids there are in Ohio, but I'm assuming it's not a lot. So I think the field guide is a great way for military teens to experience a medium that accurately represents their experience. There are a lot of concerning things that we have seen that you wouldn't exactly expect from the military teens that you see on a daily basis. So the field guide uses results from the survey along with writing and art from bloomers to create a very realistic and representative medium of the military teen experience. And I don't think that there's another field guide that accurately represents the military teen as well as this one does. And I hope that military teens and their families can see their experiences accurately represented. And I hope that school officials and policymakers alike will be able to use the field guide to create policies and provide support for military teens in the most effective way possible.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a great resource. So Raleigh, you talked on this just a little bit at the beginning, summer camp, because while it may not feel like it yet, it is a bit frigid everywhere we're living, depending on where you're stationed, of course. Summer's around the corner. So Operation Purple Camp applications open February 11th. What should families know?
Okay. We are doing camp all over the country this year. We have some new locations, so I can't tell you what they are before February 11th, but the South is going to be happy. And I mean, everybody in California already is going to be happy because I would never tell you that we're definitely going to be back at Camp Surf. But let me tell you that Camp Surf is a phenomenal program. And if you are in California on February 11th, I would have an alarm set to be on the militaryfamily.org website to make sure that you can apply. We leave applications open. It is not first come, first serve. Apply. You have a couple weeks to go to our website, find the camp that's right for you. Tell us about your experience. We prioritize campers who are kind of going through like the thick of it with military life, who are going through transitions. When we first started, we prioritized families in deployment. Now it's a lot shorter. I mean, it's been a long time since my kid's dad has been gone for a full year, but he's still been gone a whole lot. It's just in snippets now, right? But like completely absent and then gone again. So it's those families in transition that we really, really want to be here for. But do not let that keep you from registering your family, because one of the other things that we really prioritize is being able to take a whole family. So if you have 3 kids that like mine are, 12, 11, and 9, we're going to try to get all of those kids in. That also means that as people move, as they get orders and move over the summer, there's always some wiggle room in our list that we didn't anticipate. When that happens, you might have exactly the right number of kids for us to be able to move in and surprise you with a free week of camp. Here's the most awesome thing about Operation Purple. It's completely free. Like literally there are no hidden costs. There's not a dime. You will not spend a dime. If you are a family struggling to get by and you're like, man, I would love that. But here are the things you need for camp. You're going to need water shoes. You're going to need a bathing suit. You're going to need sunscreen that I just don't have the money for this summer. We're not going to be able to do that. We will do everything we can to make sure your kids can get to camp this summer and get that experience. So don't say no to us. Let us do our best to fit your kid in. Tell us what you're going through. We are doing everything we can to make every precaution covered, everything we can to make sure your kids are there. I have a type 1 diabetic kid. I would send my kid to our camps. Like, we use ACA accredited, wonderful, phenomenal camps with nurses who are there. We are fully trained and staffed. We will take your neurospicy kids and make sure they're supported all summer. And that's like, as we evolve this program, we have seen more kids with neurodivergence in the program. That means more counselors. It means more MFLEX. So we bring in the military family life counselors, same ones who are in our schools. We bring them to camp. They're a great resource for our kids who might be sitting there trying to make sense of some of the stressors of military life after s'mores and a campfire one day. We are not going to leave that kid alone. We're going to make sure that kid is supported and can think things through. And this is like the magic of camp for me. Did you go to sleepaway camp as a kid? Did anybody?
I still do as a grown adult.
Yeah, it's amazing. My kids go to camp too. I love camp. It is such a wonderful thing because you send a kid to camp and it's just your regular kid. They're amazing. They're wonderful. By day 2, that kid has gotten over their homesickness. By day 3, they have figured out who they are completely separate of you, and they are so excited to show the world. On day 5, you have a kid that is ready to drag you around camp to show you the 10 things that you never would have imagined your kid would ever do. And we get to do all this for free. And we pick the absolute best camp locations we can. I mean, this is like, we go big. Did you want your kid to learn how to surf at camp? Great. We've got the camp for you. Environmental stewardship, we've got you covered too. High ropes, your kid has a camp. Like, whatever the thing is, we are here to accommodate your family, support your kid, and let your kid have fun. And I mean, you heard me say that resilience isn't automatic. It's not. It's a hard skill. And we all in this family space build it a very hard way. We don't always have to learn things the hard way. Sometimes we can develop resiliency skills doing fun things like kayaking, like learning how to try something new for the first time in front of complete strangers and then having a blast. So a lot of the things that military life asks of us, we can build doing fun summer things. And that's what we get to do at camp.
That's really cool. So for the families who don't live near a camp, or maybe they do PCS and their plans shift, which we all know is very normal in a military family, you do offer virtual summer program. So tell us a little bit about that for this coming year.
Okay. This is, I have to tell you, the dog that just jumped up and down behind me, creating all sorts of havoc. That dog started out as Camp Dog from summer 2022. Because in 2020 and pandemic, along with everybody else, we took our programs virtual. We figured that'd be the end of it. 2021, we had families come back and say, well, what about virtual stuff? My kids aren't doing camp in person. So I said, okay. And I stood up 3 weeks of virtual summer camp while doing my regular work, like 8 p.m. at night after my kids went to bed. We thought that would be the end of it. Year after year after year, we have more kids coming back than the summer before. We had 3,500 kids doing 8 weeks of virtual camp with us last summer. It's like, so this year, it's going to be so awesome. It's a lot like your summer library program. Come in, drop in, do the parts you want, don't do the parts you don't want. We want it to be fun. We have self-paced activities that your kids can do at home. And it's really like all of the fun and magic of Operation Purple we have distilled at this point in a way that we know works and keeps kids happy. We have activities that they can do with you and parents so that you guys can build connection too. And then we also do these really wonderful, they're like virtual meetings. And think of it as like, if you have a cabin full of kids, that's what they are, but we come do activities together during the week. And those are actually the most delightful parts of my summer. And the dog behind me in the background over here joined us for, back when we were doing them daily, cabin clubs every day. And we would check on Jasper, who was just a puppy, and his paws. And all these little kids would bring their stuffed animals and we would look at your stuffed animals' paws. And then with the bigger kids, we were playing virtual, like Among Us, and we had Lego challenges. Every year we do new things. This year, I'm super excited because we are working with some of our older kids and our teens. We're going to do an Armed Services Arts Partnership storytelling project. So it's going to be amazing. This is going to be the best summer yet. And we are very, very excited. So no matter what, get yourself on the list for in-person camp. If you can make it work, we'll figure it out, right? Number 2, sign them up for the virtual program, because no matter where you are and no matter what happens, those are activities delivered straight to your inbox and an opportunity for you to have your kid meet other kids going through their same experience, no matter where you are and no matter where the military sends you.
You guys really made it no obstacle unturned, right? Like, we've got the answer. Just come find us first. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You guys
we actually will send your kits for the summer too. Like, we will send stuff to you to make it even more fun.
Who doesn't love mail? Happy Mail. I love Happy Mail. So everything we've talked about today, connection, belonging, feeling heard, has a direct impact on military teen mental health. We'll be right back after a message from Talkspace. Being a military spouse comes with its challenges, but you don't have to navigate them alone. Welcome to MilSpouse in the House, your go-to podcast for real talk, support, and community. And thanks to our sponsor, Talkspace, getting the mental health support you need is easier than ever. Talkspace is a secure, HIPAA-compliant therapy platform where you can connect with licensed therapists anytime, from anywhere. Now in the TRICARE network for all TRICARE recipients, for children 13 and up, retirees, veterans, and active duty spouses. Because mental wellness is for the whole family. Visit Talkspace.com/MilSpouse today and take the first step towards support that fits your lifestyle. And we are back with Raleigh Smith Duttweiler and Kait Sue talking about how we can better support military teens at home, in schools, and in our communities. So, question to you, Raleigh. How can parents help military teens build connection after a PCS?
Tell them to go look for Bloom. I mean, that's the answer, is tell them to go find Kait and the other Bloomers.
And I would be interested to see how many of them go there and then realize they've found a connection with someone that might even live in their new place.
That's right. Go ahead, Kait. You can talk about it.
Yeah, are there stories that you guys have heard like that happening?
Yeah, definitely. I see this all the time. We actually have a space in our Bloom Discord channel where we have Bloomers who meet up with each other and they'll send photos together, and it's amazing. It's people who didn't even know that they live close to each other. But yeah, they connect through Bloom, and then they'll go out into the real world and they'll see them at school and they'll be like, hey, I know you from Bloom. And it's amazing to see. It's really fun.
Yeah, and what a heartwarming gesture for a parent. You know, like, this is not just about the teens. This is about parents too, because it can be a lonely journey feeling like as the parent, you're the sole provider of all of these needs, which we don't even always fully know. And then we move them. Dad or mom goes to work, and that present parent, which was always my role, is left feeling like, how do I pick up all these pieces for not just my teen, but all of my other teens as well, right? I have 3 kids that were all 3 experiencing PCSs and dad being gone again. And to know that there's a place that they could go where they can meet a friend that they didn't otherwise know that they could meet is such a gift to a parent. Coming from a parent, I can tell you that for sure. Of course. So I think it's just embracing that these things exist, right? Like, we just have to embrace that they exist. And how do we get our teen to open up to either us or someone else so we can help them? I've never been attached to being the one that helps my kid. I've just been attached to knowing that I was able to facilitate something that could help them. But we have to acknowledge that the need is there first. So I love that. Raleigh, you look like you're stewing on something.
So what I will do is add to that is that 1 in 10 military teens are not getting the mental help they need because they have not been able to either share with the parent they need the help or have a parent successfully connect them with the help. And all I hear there is, moms, we have got to do a much better job of listening to our kids when they are telling us, however they feel comfortable, that they might be one in that 40%. And that's where, like, we need to do a much better job. And we've done this on the veteran side. So we're just going to, like, take the skill sets that we've developed as, like, the parents in these communities of, we know it's really hard to be a veteran in some instances. We know those 365 days post-transition are really delicate, and we have to be completely ready for all sorts of mental health trials, right? Like, it's going to be hard, and we know that. We now need to look at our teens and say, okay, you guys are going through this transition from little kid where I was able to kind of orchestrate you magically fitting back in community. And now that you're developing your own independence, now that you are becoming the adult who you are, which is exactly what they're in that biological process of becoming, we need to figure out how we can say and normalize, this is hard and you might need help too, right? And it's not that anybody has done anything wrong. It's not that there's anything like crisis emerging, but this is where it's just like we go to the dentist to get our teeth cleaned so we don't get cavities. We go to the doctor for a well-kid checkup so that when something is wrong, they have a benchmark. That's why we go. And we need to kind of normalize, all right, well, like what's the check-in on our mental health and how are we doing? And how do we open that conversation so that when they need to have it, we are already receptive and they know that.
Yeah, I love that. Teaching, it's everyone is learning through all of this information. So how can families encourage their teens to use these resources without feeling singled out? I know I mentioned that about my kids in their schools. So clearly that's an issue. So how can families encourage them and hopefully eliminate that feeling of being singled out?
Year after year in our survey, what we have seen from kids is they've actually done a phenomenal job of getting into community and enmeshing themselves in a way that they do have those supports. They do feel like they are connected in clubs and groups. That part is good. But Kait, I know we're missing people and I know that there are those moments where people feel that way. What should they do when that happens?
As I said before, it's a very fine line. I'm trying to encourage this open conversation while also trying to not single the teen out and making them feel pressured to share their feelings, because when you pressure them to share their feelings, they may not share the feelings that they're actually feeling. And again, as Raleigh said before, because Raleigh, you have amazing ideas, I think that the comparison of having these conversations about mental health or having these check-ins with a mental health provider, just the same way that you would take your kid to the dentist. Make it a routine and make it a conversation that you have every time you move, every time a deployment happens, every time something big happens that's connected to your military lifestyle. I think having open communication where you specifically listen to your teen's feelings while also expressing your own concerns as a parent will create a conducive conversation where you can gently slide over resources to your military teen after they have shared their feelings, while also putting it out there that you as a parent have had concerns or you as a parent would like to know how your teen is feeling. So that way, both people in the party feel heard and both people in the party sort of get something out of it.
A positive result.
Positive result.
We're also normalizing the check-ins on mental health, right? I do think as a culture in general, we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. And I do love that it's now branching into our teens because, Raleigh, you've said it so many times, like we have these things for veterans. We have these things for active duty. You know, like you go on deployment, you have reintegration courses and training on how to reintegrate with your family. No one's talking to the kids about how to reintegrate on their end of life, right? So it's just normalizing these conversations and also freeing the parents up. But if it's not a conversation with you, let's make sure the conversation is with someone, and giving them the resources for that. So, and the connection with their fellow peers. Like all of this is such a beautiful Bloom too. The name of that is Bloom Where You're Planted. Rapid fire for you, Riley. Where can listeners take the Military Teen Experience survey?
www.militaryfamily.org.
Fabulous. Where can they read the field guide to the military teen or print it to have access to get it out there to everybody?
Same place.
Same place. What about where can they learn more about Bloom?
Kait.
BloomMilitaryTeens.org.
And then are there Instagrams, TikTok pages? How has that been working for you guys?
Everything that is connected to Bloom, our handle is going to be Bloom Military Teens on TikTok, Instagram, and then on Spotify, our handle for our podcast is going to be the Bloom Room.
Bloom Room. Fabulous. And then where can they register for Operation Purple Camps?
Militaryfamily.org.
So easy. We're a one-stop shop too. So much info. All right. Today's episode was a powerful reminder that military teens don't just need us to speak for them, they also need us to listen. We talked about Bloom's journey into NMFA, the importance of connection and real opportunities for teens this summer through Operation Purple Camp and virtual programs. Raleigh and Kait, thank you for the work you're doing to make sure military teens feel seen, supported, and empowered. To our listeners, let's share this survey with our teens, or like Raleigh said, any military affiliated connected teen that we know. Read the field guide together, get it to your command, get it to your FRGs, get it to your chapel, your MFLAC. There's so many resources that are integrated into our military communities that we just might need to introduce them to this resource. And mark February 11th on your calendars for camp applications, and don't count yourself out. Go fill it out. So many possibilities there. And always subscribe, leave a review, and follow us at This Is MilSpouses, or visit milspouses.com for resources and updates. Thank you for listening. I'm your host, Christie Nix, signing off the net.